Welcome in the next video on Christabel, part first by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. This video is useful for the students of English Literature BA Part 2 and it belongs to Poetry and Drama, Paper 1. I am Dr. Vinita Bhadoria, Associate Professor of English in Government College, Behror. In the previous video, I finished with the groaning of old Mistiff, who was sleeping outside her kennel. Though she did not know about anything, through the action of the old Mistiff, the poet subtly suggests the appearance of something supernatural by describing the growling of the old Mistiff in the presence of her mistress Christabel, and even while asleep. The poet intensifies the mystery by guessing that perhaps it was the screaming of the young owls in their nest which made the Mistiff utter a shrill cry of pain, anger, and fright. There was apparently nothing else which might have caused her to growl. Now, the next lines. They passed the hall that echoes still. Pass as lightly as you will. The brands were flat, the brands were dying, amid their own white ashes lying. But when the lady passed, there came a tongue of light, a fit of flame, and Christabel saw the lady's eye, and nothing else saw the thereby, save the boss of the shield of Sir Leoline Tall, which hung in a murky old niche in the wall. Now the Christabel and the Geraldine. They stands for both the ladies, Christabel and Geraldine. They are passing through the hall. The poet vividly describes the hall. It is a medieval scene. While they passed through the hall echoed the footsteps. Even though they trod as noiselessly and softly as they could. The burning pieces of wood lay flat, their fire was dying, and the faggots lay covered with their own white ashes. However, when Geraldine passed, the extinguished fire blazed into life, and there appeared a bright flame of fire. With its help, Christabel saw the face of Geraldine and a boss on her father's shield, which was hanging in a dark corner of the wall. She could not see anything else in that fire or in the light of that fire. Christabel asked Geraldine to walk softly and noiselessly, lest the sound of their footsteps should disturb her father. "Oh, softly tread," said Christabel. "Move slowly. My father seldom sleepeth well." My father had a sound sleep, sometimes only due to illness. Sweet Christabel her feet doth bear, and jealous of her the listening ear, they steal their way from stair to stair, now in glimmer and now in gloom, and now they pass the Baron's room, as still as death, with stifled breath, and now have reached her chamber door, and now doth Geraldine pass down the rushes of the chamber floor. Now Christabel removed her sandals to avoid making any noise and walked very quietly. Geraldine was already barefooted. They seemed to suspect that the air nearest their legs might hear the sound of their legs and betray them. So they walked still more noiselessly. In this way they walked softly from one stair to another, sometimes in faint light and sometimes in darkness. Gloom stands for darkness and glimmer stands for faint light, dim light. When they were passing near Sir Leoline's room, they stopped breathing for a while and walked as noiselessly as death, or we can say in complete silence. They stopped breathing for a while and walked as noiselessly as death. Soon, both of them reached the door of Christabel's bedroom, and Geraldine's feet pressed down. The rushes spread on the floor of Christabel's bedroom. The poet intensifies the irony by repeating the words twice or thrice. One more thing, according to popular superstitions, evil spirit cannot take the name of divinity nor offer thanks or pray to God as Geraldine does. And there is a clear suggestion of something supernatural in Lady Geraldine. As she passed through the hall, a strange strip of light, a fitful flame, appeared in the fire which they had been only ashes. The moon shines dim in the open air, and not a moonbeam enters here, but they without its light can see the chamber carved so curiously, carved with figures strange and sweet, all made out of the carver's brain for a lady's chamber meet. The lamp with twofold silver chain is fastened to an angel's feet. In these lines, poet gives a very vivid description of Christabel's room. As the moon shone dimly outside, not a moonbeam entered the room to lighten it up. But even without the moonlight, they could see the delicate wood carving representing strange and beautiful imaginary figures. These figures were suitable for a lady chamber. To add the realism of the picture, the poet tells us that a lamp was hanging from a silver chain fastened to an angel's feet carved on the ceiling. The silver lamp burns dead and dim, but Christabel the lamp will trim. She trimmed the lamp and made it bright, and left it swinging to and fro, while Geraldine, in wretched plight, sank down upon the floor below. O weary lady Geraldine, I pray you, drink this cordial wine. It is a wine of virtuous powers. My mother made it of wild flowers. The silver lamp was clipped, its wick and its light became bright. The silver lamp was giving a dull and dim light, but Christabel put the lamp in order. She clipped its wick and its light became bright. As she released it, it began to move to and from in the mid-air. Then a mysterious thing again happened. Geraldine sank down on the floor under the lamp in a pitiable condition. Christabel thought that Geraldine had fallen down due to her weakness. She took out a bottle of wine. She offered it to Geraldine as the tonic wine, which she said that her mother had made it from wild flowers. She said that the wine had power to restore energy and strength. And will your mother pity me, who am a maiden most forlorn? Christabel answered, Who is me? Woe is me! She died the hour that I was born. I have heard the grey-haired friar tell how on her deathbed she did say that she should hear the castle bell strike 12 upon my wedding day. O mother dear, that thou wert here, I would said, Geraldine Shiver. When Christabel mentioned the name of her mother Geraldine, feigned innocence, asked her if her mother would show mercy on her in her miserable state. Geraldine said to so showing that she knew nothing about her mother, whether she was alive or not. She asked her how her mother would receive a deserted lovely girl like her. At this, Christabel said that she lost her mother long ago. She related the story of her mother's death as she heard it from the old family priest who was present at the time of mother's death. She had died the hour she was born. She told her that her mother's dying wish was to hear the castle bell strike 12 upon her wedding. What her dying mother said on her deathbed intensified the mystery and the scene of impending horror. Christabel wished that her dead mother were there at the time. By making Christabel wish that her dead mother were there, Coleridge artfully or skillfully excites expectant horror in our mind. Geraldine also wished the dead mother to be present before her. But soon with altered voice said she, of wandering mother, peak and pine, I have power to bid thee flee. Alas, what ails poor Geraldine? What stares she with unsettled eye? Can she the bodiless dead spy? And why with hollow voice cries she, of woman, of this hour is mine, though thou her Geraldine spirit be, of woman, of this given to me. This is intensified by leaving the sight unexplained. The poet asks three questions regarding Geraldine and her unsettled eye and her ability to see the ghost. What are these three questions? Alas, what ails poor Geraldine? Next is, why stares she with unsettled eye? And another one is, can she the bodiless dead spy? So, here poet describes a latent dramatic irony. Their wish is miraculously fulfilled by the appearance of her ghost. The ghost is, however, seen only by Geraldine and not by Christabel. Geraldine is evidently horror stricken. She has seen the ghost. In an excited voice, she commands the ghost of Christabel's mother to go away from there and dissolve into the thin air. She said that she had power to order the ghost to go away from there. She said that the hour was given to her for playing the part of Christabel's guardian spirit and not to her mother who had appeared there. Here, poet presents direct introduction of the supernatural. Evidently, it is suggested that Geraldine possesses supernatural powers and is a rival spirit of Christabel's dead mother. Christabel was now under Geraldine's influence and power. Her mother's spirit was powerless now. A few lines from the poem are left in this video. These are, then Christabel knelt by the lady's side and raised to heaven her eyes so blue. Alas, said she, this ghastly rite, dear lady, it hath wildered you. The lady wiped her moist cold brow and faintly said, tea is over now. Again the wild flower wine she drank. Her fair large eyes again glitter bright, and from the floor whereupon she sank, the lofty lady stood upright. She was most beautiful to see, like a lady of a far country. In the previous lines, Geraldine unexpectedly faints while crossing the threshold, and Christabel offers her a cup of cordial wine, which had been prepared by her mother. Geraldine expresses a wish that she were there. Hardly does she utter the word when the mother's ghost appears. Geraldine is shown staring at the vacuum and uttering these quite irrelevant words of woman. Woman is used for mother. Of. They seem to have no connection with the present situation, and therefore the behavior of Geraldine is nothing but strange. Christabel is quite innocent. She thinks that Geraldine's strange behavior is because she is extremely tired. She gave her a cup of wine. Then Christabel knelt by Geraldine's side and prayed to God for his mercy, for Geraldine's well being. She said that it was because Geraldine was made to ride on horseback for a long time. She was dead tired and terrified. She told her that her wild behavior was because of her hastily ride on horseback. Geraldine was in reality facing Christabel's mother's spirit. It was Christabel's mother's spirit that had made Geraldine mild with fear. Ultimately, Geraldine was able to make Christabel's mother ghost disappear from there. She was now safe. Christabel's mother ghost disappeared from there. She was now safe. Christabel was now under her sole influence and power. The mother's ghost, Christabel's guardian spirit, had disappeared. Geraldine wiped her moist cold brow and in a faint voice said that her troubles were all over. Geraldine actually meant that she had succeeded in making Christabel's guardian spirit go away from the room. However, Christabel thought that she meant that her weakness because of the ghostly ride was over. Geraldine again drank the wildflower wine, and her beautiful large eyes glittered brightly. She rose up, tall and fair, from the floor. She looked exceedingly beautiful, like a lady from a distant country. There was a something strange in her look. And thus the lofty lady spake, all they who live in the upper sky do love you, holy Christabel, and you love them, and for their sake, and for the good which me befell, even I in my degree will try, fair maiden, to requite you well. But now unrobe yourself, for I must pray, ere yet in bed I lie. Christabel thought it was due to her being very tired because of a ghastly ride, and she again take the tonic and looks very beautiful. In these lines, she told Christabel that the angels above loved Christabel as she was holy and good. She said that Christabel also loved the holy angels and they would be kind and merciful to her. She said that she would also try to do her good as she had helped her in her distress. Geraldine asked Christabel to go to bed. She will pray before sleeping. Again and again, the poet hints that there is something mysterious and monstrous in the naked body of Geraldine. Christabel is shocked when she sees a terrible scar on the Geraldine's bosom, and so many other things to show that Geraldine is a supernatural creature. Thank you very much.